What's up, everybody? That's it's not just a load of powdered sugar on the ground. It's also snow. That's right. Cold weather has rolled in. I unfortunately don't live in a warm environment, so we get snow early. Also, why I had a set of skis. Look at those tires. Now, despite all the powdered sugar and snow that we have outside, so unfortunately early in the year, we're going to be focusing on getting the car ready today because we still got a little bit of work that needs to be done in preparation for the last race of the year. More really rocky tires. So with one race left, this is not only for all the marbles, because I'm sitting third in the championship, but I'm not too worried about where we're going to end on the season. I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to hold our position. Now that leads me to a question I want to ask you guys. As many of you guys know, I vlog my weekends while I'm out there racing. I've been meaning to ask, what do you guys want to see on a race weekend? I tend to give you guys as much footage as possible of what's going on and just track stuff. I don't give you guys a lot of footage of the actual racing aspect, being out on track, because the type of racing I do is time trial racing, so it's a lot of me being out there on the track, more or less by myself, void of traffic. But that begs the question, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see more track time, more hot laps, or do you want to see more action at the track, you know, stuff we're doing, hanging out in the pits, watching other races, or do you want to see a healthy mix of both? Ooh, that definitely needs some more grease. Now, I know the opinion of one of you guys, you know who you are, but I've never posed the question to the whole of my community. If you're indifferent, don't care, or already like it the way it is, that's also fine. But I figured I'd ask the question because I know some people want to see more racing content, and some people are just straight up more interested in what happens at the track than necessarily the car on the track. Because I get hours of footage each day I'm at the track, it'd make for, in my opinion, a fairly boring video if I just uploaded all of that raw. But I'm not the one trying to be entertained by this. All answers are good and legitimate answers. This is what running hard does to your brakes. Just look at that. The other one's worse. Let's look at that area right there. Started to get into the actual metal there. Now, I've been asked before, somewhat recently too, what pads I decide to run on my car. And these are Hawks. I used to run the DTC 60s, but these are the DTC 70s. They're a little bit grippier. I do much prefer the DTC 70s in the one set that I ran. The last ones that just came off were DTC 70s. These are the pads of choice for me right now. May change in the future, may not. I'm not entirely sure. This is an overweight car. It's a pretty heavy car. The DTC 60s are probably going to be a fine pad if you're looking to run them. If you're running the heavier cars, you might want to consider the 70s because of the stopping power. Let's talk about the rear brakes. I'm going to do things a little bit different this time. Typically when I replace the front pads, I also replace the rear pads. Now I've already done the other side of the car, and when I took off the rear brake pads on that side, I noticed this. As you can see, the rear brake pad has about half the material life left, which is pretty substantial. It's not even down to the wear band. Now this is actually a pretty common thing. I've actually got these boxes right here full of rear brake pads that aren't actually fully dead. And as you guys can see, I've done it a lot. And the reason I kept those is because I'm thinking maybe it will be one day worth putting those onto the car and actually using the rest of that substantial amount of life that they have on them. So with that being said, it's going to be an experiment, but we're going to see if these pads are going to last. With it being about half life, I'm thinking I'm going to be able to run through my front pads in the same amount of time it takes me to run through the rest of this, which means I'd be replacing my rear pads every other brake change. That being said, that means my brakes are done. But wannabe, I hear you guys all cry. What about The brake fluid? Well, you see, that's another thing we're doing a little bit differently this time around. I'm not actually going to flush the brake fluid. I've done that every time that I've changed out the brakes thus far, but two things. One, I don't think it's that necessary. When I do it, it doesn't look that bad. Now, might be good in practice if this was a much more expensive professional race car, but it's not. So what I'm going to try is, since those brake pads in the rear might last as long as my front pads, I'll change out the brake fluid every other time. We have plenty of fluid in the system, so I'm not even going to bother topping it off. Now I always do bring brake fluid with me to the racetrack, so if this does end up getting a little bit low, I can always top it off then. Good enough. If you guys are curious what this thing is and why it took me so dang long to build, you're just gonna have to wait for future videos. But yes, it was necessary for this weekend. So that leads us to our last two items for the day. Firstly, although it got cold enough last night to snow, it didn't get cold enough to ruin my tires. But my other set of tires is still in the trailer. That'll help them survive, despite the fact that my trailer stays surprisingly warm. But this brings me to a point I want to address, because we do need to save these tires for a very important reason. The original plan was to have scrapped these tires after our last race, if you guys recall, and run these as my practice tires for next event with a brand new set of tires. These tires seem to have enough life left in them to run Friday. They're pretty dead, but I do think I can get one more day out of these tires. These tires will run Saturday, Sunday as my race tires instead of a brand new set of tires. Now there's a few reasons I decided to do it that way this weekend. One, it was cheaper. A new set of tires is $1,400. Two, I don't know what tires I'm going to run next year. I might be on Toyos again, I might not be on the Toyos. Three, it actually has to do with that trailer there. With the trailer, I could probably take all three sets of tires and be good to go. Yeah, I don't need all three sets, but it would be nice to have them. But that does segue me into the last thing we need to talk about preparing for this race. As you guys can see here, I still have the front planetary assembly as well as the front pump removed from the transmission. I did say I was going to put it back in. I didn't see a point in putting this back together because what I need to do is I need to rebuild this transmission. And I knew that wasn't going to happen before my next race, so I don't have any way of towing the trailer. I'm going to have to find a workaround this weekend too. But over the winter, I'm going to go ahead tear this down and rebuild it. That means my poor little Yukon right here hasn't gotten used once this year for the purposes that I bought it for. Unfortunately, I did not see through this year what I wanted to do with this car. I had a lot of good plans with it, but I'm not going to get rid of it. It's going to hopefully be next year's tow vehicle. If not, I'm going to be in trouble. Car's ready to race this weekend. We're doing a few different things like using these tires to race, not changing out the rear brakes. It's kind of a budget weekend, you know. I'm just trying some new things and also trying to keep it cheap, not knowing where we're going with this next year. And I really don't need to be that aggressive this weekend to compete. So I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. It's the Quad Duro. We're running all 4 configurations of the track this weekend. So that's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to just getting to run it one last time in this good weather. It's going to be really nice. And looking forward to next year as well. But if you don't mind, guys, I've got some things I need to go to attend to. You know, fall stuff. Anyway, if you like the video, subscribe. It really helps me out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.